Currently, my role is production planner and technical support. I'm helping with the production of our new expert line, kind of like a modular robotics system that we're able to create custom solutions with off-the-shelf components and have a very short lead time for the customer. Instead of months of lead time, it's down into weeks lead time. We're being able to produce some of the equipment in North America instead of relying on Germany for everything. So we're able to have like standardized components that will be with stock in inventory. And then when we have a system solution designed, then we have our bill of materials, and I'm part of coordinating that to where, make sure we have materials, procedures, processes, process improvement to actually be able to fulfill that advanced lead time. Day to day, for me, some of my technical support experience allows me to still provide services for welding machine repairs, sporadically system installations, troubleshooting at the warranty stages or service stages, and then also along with the production, I can help assist the staff to, if they're having trouble with procedures on, how do you assemble something, or do you have steps in the middle that aren't necessarily documented in between like an assembly of an item. Like, do you need to, how clean do you need to make the materials before you made them together? Do you need to use lubrication, or not, or, a sealant on certain surfaces and for seals and things like that. So you've got your wire feed is fairly simple. You've got your wire, whether it's in a spool or a drum. You've got your conduit system running to your wire drive, and then your small liner inside your weld whip going to your torch. Usually those things will be really steady and work great. But when you get to the edge of things wearing out, like your drive rollers, sometimes they last 6 months, sometimes they last a year. Eventually you'll start having like small irregularities in your welding. It may not be drastic. It may be like every now and then you've got a little spot on your weld where there's maybe a few extra little holes, or the weld is a little bit narrower than normal. Especially in automation, you'll notice, because your travel speed is consistent. So your weld should look the same throughout the whole weld. Whereas, hand welding's a little different, of course, because you're controlling it, and you might slow down if you see that your weld puddle's smaller to come up, account for that difference. So if your, consumables start to wear out or get grooves in them that cause extra drag in the wire, that is something that a good operator will need to pay attention to. And then as they get to know the equipment and how often consumables need to be replaced, they will be able to correct these things, in a small amount of time rather than go days and weeks of inconsistent performance. They'll know, okay, sometimes go back to the basics. What on the system's old could be replaced, and then go from there. With CLOOS, since we are OEM, we manufacture on robots, we're in control of where the advancements happen, whether that's in the electronics of the control or whether that's on the mechanical side also. We do have some parts of the robots that do span multiple generations of the robot. Because let's say, for example, the wrist assembly on the robot, it's very critical and very precise. And if it doesn't need to change, you don't need to change a component that works great every single generation just to make a new part number or just to say that it's new and improved. So that's something that experience from CLOOS for making equipment for 100 years, we're able to apply our knowledge of what works from being a transformer company to then apply that to gas welding and then wire feed welding. because we are making industrial equipment that's meant to last. You definitely can tell the difference between a wire that has good feedability and then actually burns consistent and smooth over a wire that maybe has an improper finish and has like a, inconsistent feed or like improper metal in the mixture that causes like spatters and pops and things like that. And if you don't clean the spatters up, you're gonna have poor finish once it gets painted or coated. That's unintended. In my time here in the last roughly 20 years, I have seen some changes in our industry. It's harder to find welders or find people who want to weld. So now this gives a larger challenge to the manufacturers because they still need to make product. So that's where the robotics comes in. So now we have like smaller systems that are more popular to make smaller parts that normally you just have a guy make 200 parts a day, right? Well, now you want a compact system that takes up a limited footprint, and you have an operator who can load one system, or depending on the company, maybe 2 systems or 3 systems at the same time, but depends on complexity of the product, to now more collaborative robots. So the cobot type of thing where you have the capability of you can run a batch of parts. You can also make like customized parts because they're very easy to program. So you can take a program and adjust it for a variation a lot faster than a system that has dedicated tooling. Automation is the key for companies who need to manufacture things, metal things and welding. But you still need the whole capability of manual welding. You may need people to be able to tack the parts for the robot. You're still gonna need people to finish weld some components, because even the best robot, you want the robot to weld everything. Well, usually you can hit goals 90%. So someone still has to weld the 10% that you can't reach or won't be consistent with the robot, because some parts still don't fit as consistently as you need to have a good result with a robot. So sometimes you're better off leaving the 10% of the hardest welds out to where you can have an operator, a manual welder, to actually finish weld it in the places where the robot may not give you a good appearance. Coming to work and just being able to help, pretty much with all kinds of different situations. With the robotics, you've got electrical things that I never knew I wanted to know, I know it. Having to troubleshoot equipment, having to kind of come up with ways to do things in like a lab setting where you may not be set up perfectly, but you have these challenges that you can typically overcome. So that's the best thing about my job.